I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Yes or no? Did you ever take banned substances to enhance your cycling performance?
Yes.
I had no prior knowledge of the planned assault on Nancy Kerrigan.
I am deeply sorry for my irresponsible and selfish behavior I engaged in.
There's no Samantha ever on this phone number. You too. Bye. All right, it's Thursday. Guys, I know that you've been chomping at the bit. Is that how you say it?
I think so.
Chomping at the bit to hear Giulio's beef. I know that it is maybe just a minor detail, a part of Giulio's amazing weekend in Louisville, but to me, it's all I've been thinking about since we pressed the stop button on our Tuesday recording. My name is Ryan. Join me here with Giulio Gallerati on another episode of Oops the Podcast, where some petty conversations may happen, not between the two of us, but through story, through Giulio's mouth, using his voice and his words, putting them together into sentences that make statements of petty. Giulio, how are you?
Hello, Lynch. Okay, so this is the scoop. I'll get right into it. Well, first of all, buy tickets to see my shows in Pittsburgh and Chicago, March 8th, March 14th. They're going to be great. Those tickets should get going, especially for Chicago. So get in there, buy them, notjulio.com. Anyway, I was in Louisville. So this weekend came up kind of last minute. Somebody else must have canceled. I was in Alaska when they asked me. I had to move some stuff around, but I was like, sure, I'll come back to New York for one day after being in Alaska and go immediately to Louisville. Why not? No, but dude, I'll tell you, you know what's worse than that? Having nothing to do. Literally 100 times worse. Gives me so much anxiety, makes me exhausted. This is so much better. I love having a dynamic. Oh, I was just here. I got to go there. Amazing. It's a dream. So anyway, the last night, we have this weekend of shows that I'm going to talk about after this. Danny and I, Danny was down with me in Louisville. We go out to a bar, and we wanted to find a cocktail bar where we could get a good drink. That was sort of my mandate. I was like, Danny likes dive bars. I do not. I think he likes them maybe because it's an easier place to approach a female. I think, there are people who are more receptive to that, perhaps in those environments. Maybe not. I don't want to speak for Danny. We love Danny. Anyway, so we're at this bar and we're ordering. So I'm getting my drink, get a couple mezcal Negronis, and then if I'm going to drink more than that, I'll typically switch to something else. So I'm drinking mezcal, and I think we had 8 drinks, and we had 6 drinks, and the bill comes, and the bill is a lot, but I kind of don't notice. I don't notice. I'm just all right, whatever. I didn't start doing the math. I'm all right, it's fine. It wasn't $1,000, but it was more than I thought it would be. But we're at a cocktail bar, and sometimes it can be expensive. So after we've closed out, I ordered 2 more drinks, and then I have to close that out. And when I close that out, that's when I notice that we've been being pretty overcharged. I think the bill for 2 drinks in Louisville was $38, that includes the tip. I always tip 20%. Because I know some people are cheap with that with drinks. 20%. You made me drink all good. Now, that's expensive. I literally just had a mezcal on the rocks, and he had a gin and soda.
Pretty basic.
How is that $40? I mean, I get it if you're in New York and you're at... How do I have a Soho House bill in Louisville, Kentucky? No offense. Especially this place wasn't special. It was advertised as a shop bar. It was mid. So I'm like, what's going on here where I'm paying $20 per drink at this bar? So I ask. I'm like, is this right? And she goes, oh, yeah. She goes, sorry, we ran out of the cheaper mezcal.
Huh.
I'm like, oh. I was like, you weren't going to tell me that? But I don't think I said that. I said, oh, you did? Okay. And she went, yeah, sorry. And I went, okay. And I sort of didn't process it. I give 20% tip. I walk out. And then I'm like, I don't want to make Danny uncomfortable since I just picked up this tab. He's opening for me. And it wasn't like he was making a ton of money doing the gig. I owe him that. I'm not about to start I literally owe him, in my opinion. I'm not going to bitch to Danny about this because he's going to feel guilty and uncomfortable. So I'm not going to bring it up. The next day I wake up, I'm like, that was crazy. So I disputed the charge. I didn't bitch about it. I didn't fucking this and that. I just disputed the charge.
Yeah.
I was a pussy in person. I just didn't process.
No.
I had been had quickly. It just happened. And then I was like, that was wrong. Just tell me at least. Don't be like, we're out of the less expensive one. we're going to give you this like rare, expensive one.
Yeah.
Or it's going to be like 20, because Danny was just getting regular whatever. It's like Danny's couldn't have been, mine must have been like $23 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm having many of these. Like, come on.
And you're just having it in a glass with ice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
not right.
tell me, because to me, it's like we're in a normal ass bar, which is what this was. And it was a cocktail bar, but it was not fancy. And there's no way in hell. And I think like on the literal cocktail list, the cocktails were like 13 or 14.
Yeah, that's not right.
It's not right. And I did the math. I'm like, all right, if I was paying 14, even if I was getting the cocktails, still, this is not right. So anyway, that's my gripe.
No.
Pretty
Did you
legit.
dispute the second bill or both?
No, I just disputed an amount off of the big bill that I thought was fair given the scenario. So I didn't dispute the whole thing.
Fair.
I does not dispute both.
Fair.
To be fair.
It's very fair.
For 8 drinks with tip, even if that total came to, I don't know, I think the total was like 170, which is an average of $20 a drink. It's over $20 a drink. Maybe 165.
Okay.
But no,
That's-
more, 170. So dude, yeah, I'm paying $20 a drink. How? That's crazy. Even
Yeah.
if the drinks were 15 and I was tipping, it's nowhere near that. And I think that if that second bill had been 30 total, maybe I wouldn't have been as
Sus.
I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm not doing the math properly. And maybe because like 40 to 32, maybe that tracks. I don't know.
You got.
I think I got a little bit.
But then you caught your got.
And she literally told, and I wasn't sure. And then she's like, we ran out. The fact that they were giving me the most expensive version of something, to me, without telling me, is like sus as fuck.
How busy was the cocktail bar?
It was the end of the night. Wasn't that busy.
Okay.
There was probably like 12 people in there. The bartenders I also felt to be a little rude. And sometimes if you're at like a really good bar and they're amazing, like if you're that good at something, like maybe you can get away with not being that friendly because you're so incredible at making drinks. But that was not the case here, dude. This was like pretty straightforward. It's not like they gave me a big block of ice and some like steamy frozen glass. Like it was a normal ass place.
Yeah.
Normal ice, normal drink. My drink was solid, not amazing.
You have power to get revenge by doing one simple thing.
What?
Saying the name of the bar.
Oh man. I don't even remember.
That's fine. That's great that you caught that, and you deserve some sexy points for catching it.
Appreciate it.
So
Would have been sexier if I did it in the moment.
yeah,
That's fine.
that's just very scummy. So they assume that you wouldn't have noticed. And I'm glad that she was honest with you and gave you an answer besides just like, oh, that's just how much it is.
Yeah.
Because if she gave you that, you would have taken that at face value and been like, okay,
Yeah.
and then you would have left. So that's shitty.
$15 a drink. Let's do the literal math so that I don't walk away from this feeling afraid. I think that should be 120, right? For 8 drinks?
8,
No. Oh yeah, 120.
great math.
Okay, so 120 plus tip. So the whole thing there should be 130 something dollars.
$144
Sorry,
if you do 20% tip.
Yeah. Okay. So and mine was like $30 more than that.
Yeah.
And that's already high end of what that could have been. So the fact that it was more is just insulting.
Yeah.
Give me a big bill, but just be like, this is how much it costs here. Okay, my bad, I didn't notice. But the fact that you're just swapping out for the thing that's the most expensive thing, get the fuck out of here.
Now, did the bill say mezcal or did it say brand dash mezcal?
I didn't even see.
So that's also
I may have
deceitful.
the receipt. Should I look for the receipt?
yeah. Let's say their name.
I don't know that I want to say the name. It's just
You don't need to, but
I don't want to. If I just get my money back, it's fine. You know what I mean? Or if I get some sort of, I don't need to like. I feel like that's like a little that turns into like 2 wrongs being an extreme wrong. Not 2 wrongs, not making it right. I'm fine bitching about it, but I don't want to dox them. All right, 1 second.
very godly of you. I feel like you're always the bigger person.
All right, Lynch. I found it.
Found it?
So Danny's Tanqueray and sodas were $10 each.
Okay, Tanqueray
Tanqueray and soda,
Good.
$10 each.
Yeah.
My mezcals were $22 each.
on the rocks.
In a place where the Tanqueray and soda is 10. So that just goes to show you
Yeah.
the discrepancy. Because in New York, the Tanqueray and soda is 15 or more, and I'm getting the $22 mezcal in Louisville. It must be the $30 one in New York.
Yeah.
Just to put things into perspective. So anyway.
That makes sense in that setting.
Exactly.
This doesn't make sense in this setting.
In this setting, there's no world where my drink should be $22, especially when it's just because you're out of the one that costs less.
Yeah.
I'm going to try my best to, even if it gets denied and the bar doesn't want to whatever, I want to waste their time a little bit because that time is money.
Good.
And even though I'm wasting my time, I get satisfaction out of wasting theirs. And it actually doesn't take much time for me. I just quickly file a thing. I know how to do it.
Yeah.
I know how to do it, dude.
Yeah. As you were walking away, maybe I had to cut it because I don't know if we caught it, but you were saying how you don't, you want to take the high road. And I think you take the high road all the time, where you deserve to take the low road every once in a while.
Thank you.
Once in a while. Like, even if it's just one for every 100 times you take the road high, take it low once every 100 times you take it high.
By taking
you can do
it
that.
high, it's an interesting discussion, Lynch. By taking the high road, and let's assume that is true, and that I do like to try to take the high road when I can. There are times where it sucks because you're holding yourself to a higher standard and the people around you are sort of terrorizing you with their bad behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a trend in my life, even with my friendships. Like, I have friends who behave badly and I allow them to. And sometimes it makes me feel like I'm being a pussy and like I'm not in control of my own life. And I'm allowing these bad actors to affect my life. And I feel weak and I don't like the feeling.
Small.
So yeah. I don't know.
Like, think about the Nigerian priest from Conclave.
I know.
Great guy, one mistake.
I know.
Great guy, one mistake. It's not going to ruin your life to be a bad guy once. Not even bad guy, just even the holiest people, even the most serious people that take the high road all the time, every once in a while, even if it's once every 30 years, they take the low road. So you deserve to do it once in a while.
Agreed. I just think that it makes sense to do what's right. And if you're a person with integrity, and that doesn't necessarily mean that I take the high road, and what I consider to be the high road might not be what you consider to be the high road, people listening, or whatever. But like, if you believe something, and like, you should live your life that way. You shouldn't, stooping to other people's level is a real thing. It's not just a cop out. It's also convenient because then maybe sometimes you avoid having to do things that you're uncomfortable doing. That makes sense. But if you believe in what is the right thing to do, you should do it because you'll just enjoy your life more. You just really will. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the times too, other people being shitty and annoying is a lot of times it's just noise. Just let them bark. Who cares? Bark, bark, bark. Oh, they're annoyed. Oh, they're mad. Oh, they're this. You got to tippy toe around your friends. Just let them fucking be it. Who cares? Just do what you got to do. You just got to do what you got to do.
There's no saving a barker.
Yeah.
They need to stop barking on their own.
And they're making their own lives more difficult too. Mm-hmm. So dude, did you know that if your metabolism is functioning properly, your body will be working better in every single way? Your body, your mind, your energy. It's pretty cool.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Introducing the Lumen. It is the world's first handheld metabolic coach. You breathe into it in the morning and it basically can tell you what your body is using and how, whether it's carbs, fats, whatever, and what you need more of. So basically it gives you recommendations for the day, for your macros or whatever, based on what your reading is in a given morning. And I just think that's super cool. It's such a fascinating and interesting way to get insights about your metabolism and to try to get yourself sort of fueled up and functioning properly. I'm always curious about this. I'm always thinking about calories versus, carbs and proteins versus this versus that. I hear different things from all sorts of people. So it's nice to just have extra data to be able to make informed decisions moving forward for my health because I need my brain and I need it to be working well. And when it does, I feel great. So I want to continue that. So the other thing that's cool about the Lumen too is you can breathe into it before and after workouts as well. And it will kind of tell you it's just interesting to compare and contrast, but it can also let you know what you need in order to have the most efficient workout. If you feel a certain way after having a certain dietary intake situation, it's very interesting to cross-reference with whatever the Lumen's going to tell you. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Take the next step to improving your health. Go to lumen.me/oops to get 20% off your Lumen. That is lumen.me/oops for 20% off your purchase. Thank you, Lumen, for sponsoring this episode.
Anyway, I had a great time in Louisville, by the way. I'd been before. I did Louisville Comedy Club one other time. It was a Thursday. It was a few years ago, a couple years ago. The club was new, and it wasn't I didn't have a lot of ticket sales, and I was just kind of oh, all right, whatever. Anyway, I get asked to do this weekend, and I'm like, great. And it's 4 shows. So it's 1 Thursday, 1 Friday, 2 Saturday, which I kind of like that format better, especially if I'm in a place where there's national parks nearby, because 2 shows back-to-back nights is a lot, I find, like hour-long sets. Like, so to have 1 Thursday, 1 Friday, 2 Saturday, like that's great for me because I can like do stuff during the day and blah, blah, blah. So Thursday I get in the early afternoon. I had just got in from Alaska the day before, that afternoon. So like, quick turnaround. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to take it easy. I did. I went and did the show. It was great. Next morning I wake up and I'm like, all right, I got to rip some national parks. I'm ready. I'm back. So I get in the car. I start driving to Mammoth Cave. And I'm also planning to go to Abraham Lincoln's birthplace and boyhood home, I think. Those might be separate spots. I forget. But this is at least like his boyhood home, I believe.
Boyhood, like childhood, or the place is called Boyhood, as in like Boyhood.
I actually
Kentucky.
have to double check. It's not called Boyhood, but I just for my own sanity, I need to double check what it was. Hodgenville, Kentucky. So I rent a car, like I usually do on my road gigs. It's a Boyhood.
Hodgenville.
But it's Hodgenville, but it was called the Boyhood. What is the name of the site?
Abraham Lincoln Birthplace National Historical Park.
Got it. Okay. So those 2 things were in close enough proximity that in theory, if I have enough time, I'm going to go to them. So I set off, and about 20 miles into my drive, the engine light pops on. I need an oil change. Now that's fine. Theoretically, you can drive up until it gives you a countdown. And then once it's like you need service, you technically, you in theory have 500 more miles you can drive before you destroy your engine. So I probably wouldn't have driven that much, but I'm like, I'm going to drive at least a couple hundred miles today, if not 250. And then tomorrow I'm intending to drive another 100, 200. Like, it's going to be cutting it close-ish. I don't want to play with fire. I'm just going to return this car when I come back. I'm going to figure out a convenient way to return this car. So I call, and we're on the phone. I wait for like 10 minutes, probably 10, 15 minutes. Someone finally answers, and they give the same line they always give. Because the only thing you can call is the roadside assistance number. There's no like, if you don't actually need roadside assistance, press 2. It's just like, if you need help with your car, press 1, roadside assistance. The first thing they ask, hey, sir, thank you for waiting. They go, first of all, are you safe? It's an annoying question. Because it's like, yes, but if I wasn't, I'd be dead because I've been waiting for 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you serious? But all right, whatever. I didn't just say that on the phone. I'm like, hey, so I explained the situation. I'm like, so blah, blah, blah. I need to get an oil change. Right now I'm going to Mammoth Cave, which is XYZ. I'm staying in the state of Kentucky, basically. I'm like, I'm going back to Louisville later. And is there a good place for me to drop the car off? The lady goes, will you be passing by Atlanta? And I'm like, is that a real question? I'm like, Atlanta, Georgia? She's like, yeah. I'm like, no. And in my head, I'm like, whatever they're paying you, they should be paying you less, dude. That's like very, I've said, even if you're completely clueless about geography, I've said that I'm not leaving the state of Kentucky. Why would I be passing by Atlanta?
Yeah.
But I was polite. I was like, no. I was like, maybe the easiest way to do this is just going to the Louisville airport on the way home and just doing a quick switch. She's like, yeah, it sounds like it. A little annoying because I had my show, but whatever, no big deal. I ended up doing that. It was no big deal. But so now I'm going to the cave, and I booked myself an 11:30 a.m. tour. You need a tour to go in the cave. And it's a 2-hour tour. So 11:30 gets me to 1:30. My show's at 7. All good. I maybe will still have time for Abraham Lincoln, blah, blah, blah. So I get there, and this is kind of a crazy, unprecedented thing. During the drive, I've driven out of the Eastern time zone into Central time. So I get there an hour and a half early for the tour.
That didn't compute until you realized.
Until I got there, and I was like, oh, fuck. I was like, I'm in Central time. I didn't even know. It obviously makes sense. Kentucky's a long state, and I guess there's states where there's different time zones in the states. Can we look that up too? How many states have different time zones within the state themselves? Because, yeah, I was like, oh, shit. Like, thing that I should have looked at. But, dude, like, it's not like I was driving due west either. If you look at the map, it's like mostly a drive south. You're going south, slightly southwest. You're driving to like 7 o'clock if it were on a clock.
I have it.
What do you got?
14 states.
Do you have a list?
Yes, we got.
Can I guess? Let's see if I can guess.
Wait 1 sec. All right, I'm ready for you.
Okay, so let's see. Give us 20 guesses to get all 14.
20 guesses.
To get all 14. So Kentucky.
Yes.
Tennessee.
Yes.
Texas.
Yes.
Montana.
No.
Idaho.
Yes.
Missouri,
No.
Washington,
No.
Alaska,
Yes.
Hawaii,
No.
Pennsylvania,
No.
Michigan,
Yes.
Wisconsin,
No.
Nevada,
Yes.
Utah,
No.
Oregon.
Yes.
We've gotten quite a few, I think, at this point. Arkansas,
No. One that truly surprises me.
Oklahoma, Nebraska,
Nebraska.
Wyoming.
No.
What else? Which ones did I miss?
Nevada, Texas, Tennessee, South Dakota, Oregon, North Dakota, Nebraska, Michigan, Kentucky, Kansas, Indiana, Idaho, Florida, and Alaska.
All great places, by the way, guys. You got to visit all of them. Interesting.
So, dude, I was visiting my friend the other day, and he got a apartment like a year ago, and he's been living there by himself. First time I'm visiting, and I walk in there, and it looks beautiful, and then it kind of smelled weird. There was just like some like, I can't really even describe it. Just something felt wrong. And I looked up to my left, and I noticed that his air filter just kind of had some like gray, the stuff that's in a washing machine.
Yes,
Like
the lint.
Lint.
Yeah.
Lint. There was like lint.
Ugh.
And I don't know if I like noticed that the air like wasn't that great, or if it was only because I saw the lint in the filter, but it just got me thinking. I was like, oh, this guy needs Filter Easy.
Dude, I was going to say, this podcast is sponsored by Filter Easy. It's 2025. When was the last time you changed your air filters, people? And especially Lynch's friend. Come on, dude. Many homeowners don't remember, don't have time, or can't find the right size filters. It is sort of complicated in theory, but Filter Easy makes it super easy. It makes changing your air filters effortless. The Filter Easy subscription service delivers the right filters to your door when you need them. Finally, a subscription service that I actually want to subscribe to. Filter Easy filters are proudly made with love in North Carolina, with millions of filters shipped. Filter Easy is the #1 home air filter subscription service in the U.S. I recently just installed mine. I'm loving breathing this clean air. Don't even have to think about it. And when it runs out, I'm going to get new ones. So that's amazing. And when I say runs out, it's not like they run out, but you just forget to change them. So that's important. My Filter Easy filters arrived just the other day, and they are amazing, like I said. No more guessing sizes, running out of filters, or living with dirty air. The delivery is my reminder to change my filters. It sounds silly, but these things are just cool, dude. Filter Easy's filters snap into place when you open your box. I know. And it's way stronger than the cardboard filters that you buy at the hardware store. I've got enough to worry about. Filter Easy checks one thing off of my list for good. I'll never forget to change my air filters again. Boom. Filter Easy is famous for their sturdy and efficient magic filters. Magic filters are next level filters that last longer because they have 10% less pressure drop compared to ordinary cardboard edge filters you buy in the store. That means improved airflow,
Boom.
lower energy bills, and
Boom.
keeping your HVAC system running more efficiently. Want allergens, dust, and pet dander gone? Try Magic Filters from Filter Easy. My favorite thing about them is just how easy it is, dude. How consistent and how reliable. I know. Right before I've even thought that changing my air filters was the thing I need to do, my Filter Easy arrives at my doorstep. Filter Easy, the name says it all, dude. They make getting new air filters easy, quick, and hassle-free. Almost 80% of people don't change their air filters on time.
Whoa.
Including me. With Filter Easy, I'll never forget again. Better air quality in the house means better air quality for my family. Filter Easy Magic Filters offer improved airflow, which means cheaper heating and cooling bills, which is great, especially with my central air system. It can be a pain. If I want to use the heat, I get charged. I use the air conditioning, I get charged. So it's nice to have good, clean air. Filter Easy is a great resource for homeowners and families because it is so easy. Filter Easy takes care of your air filters so that you have time to take care of everything else. Head to filtereasy.com/oops and use code OOPS for 50% off of your first order plus free shipping forever. Once again, that's filtereasy.com/oops for 50% off of your first order plus free shipping forever. And make sure you use our promo code OOPS so they know we sent you.
Filter Easy.
Good stuff. So anyway, yeah, if you look at the map, dude, like this is a pretty due south drive. I mean, it's fine. It makes sense. And it is slightly west, but like I was just surprised. So that was a planning mishap on my part. Yeah, like look at the map here.
And then when you went,
Bro, look at that. Come on.
yeah, it's not fair.
Come on.
And then when you go back to do the show, now you're going into the future.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so you like lose an hour.
Lose an hour. So all good. And I made some calls and did what I had to do. And then I went in the cave, and man, that cave, it's the biggest cave in the world, biggest cave system in the world. As of now, there's 469 miles of cave that have been traversed. And there's without a doubt more. They're naturally occurring. There's no excavation happening. And you'll go in there, dude, and these walls and these whatever, it's like perfectly preserved. It looks fake. It looks like a Halloween, like haunted house version of a real thing, but it's
Really?
a real thing. The temperature is consistent because there's no external There's no external whatever, like
Airflow.
nothing whatsoever. There's some airflow, but there's no like elements. So the temperature is always exactly the same once you're deep in the cave. And you'll notice because it became a national park in the Depression, I think, in the 1930s or the early 1940s, during the war or whatever. And you'll notice that people signed their names before it was a national park. And it's like from 1832, 1810.
Wow.
And dude, it is perfect. It looks like they wrote it today.
Really?
Super cool. Another cool thing that they do, so they tell you some stories and you have to go on a tour, which I find to be lame. It was like 100-person tour. I get it. They want to preserve the caves. There's also like fungus that grows in the caves. So like when you come out, you need to like wipe your shoes because they don't want it to infect some of the grass and the outdoor stuff that's going on. But they tell you some cool stories, and it was ultimately a very fun experience. A little slow moving for my tastes, and I don't like being around all those people. But like, it would be ridiculous to do it by yourself. Like once I was there and did it. So at one point they tell you this cool story about this guy who explored the caves, and he was actually a slave of the landowner. And he eventually ended up being freed before it was actually legally mandated after the Civil War, during the Civil War. But they tell the story, and this kid, he was a teenager. His name was Steven. He was responsible for doing like all the exploration in the cave, and he became the tour guide.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the tour guide for like P.T. Barnum and I think Ralph Waldo Emerson, and these like famous people, and they all loved him. So it turned into this great thing. Obviously he was enslaved, so that's not good. But eventually he was given his freedom. I think he died the year after he became free. They think from tuberculosis because his former owner was a tuberculosis doctor. That's sort of the speculation. But anyway, he's telling us this whole story. And while he's telling the story, he sort of turned off the light system that has been installed and that is not intrusive, but that so you can navigate. And he's using an oil lamp. And the oil lamp is sort of, to kind of set the mood. And I guess they burn grease from cooking back in the day. So it would like smell like food in the cave and at one point he blows out the light, and dude, it was pitch black.
Nothing?
Nothing.
You couldn't see your hand?
No. And it's not even your eyes can get used to it situation. Pitch black, complete absence of any light. And the guy goes, can you see your hand? He's like, can you see your hand right now? And he's like, if you answer yes, your brain is lying to you. Your brain thinks it can see your hand, but it cannot. That's how dark it is in here right now. I was like, that's
Did
sick.
you think you saw your hand?
No, I actually didn't. And I know about this because one of my friends, Dominique, bless her heart, she got hit by the train and she had to have her arm, half of her arm amputated and half of her leg. And she said that she felt like her hand was there still for like the first few weeks. She'd feel her hand clenching and moving, but she looked down and it wasn't there. For some reason, I like tapped into that. But anyway, didn't think I could see my hand, but he was cool. He told this story about how this kid, Steven, discovered this endless ravine. Like he threw he lit something on fire and threw it down, and eventually it would just fall out of sight. It was this deep thing. He was like, oh my God. And he put a ladder over it. And then he's like, now we're actually going to take you to that place right now. And he's like, it turns out it wasn't endless. There was just mud at the bottom because there's a river all the way underneath, like deep in the ground, that made it muddy, that like we didn't know about. But then he discovered it, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, sick, dude. And it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which this is a little bit of a trick for any travelers who are interested in national parks but don't know how to prioritize them. Anything that's a UNESCO World Heritage Site in the park system is a pretty fair bet that it's going to be extra special. They're all special, but this one's extra special. And there's a few that are both, and this is one of them, and this is pretty special. It was pretty amazing. Yeah, I thought it was sick.
Were you able to see down?
Yeah, and dude, it was cool. I mean, we went 400 feet into the ground. They had built a bridge over it, but you could look down. And there was light now. And yeah, 400 feet down into the ground. At one point, the guy would stop. He'd be like, does anybody have any questions? And dude, this is one of the most cringe things I've ever seen. Some guy goes, yeah, I have a question. He goes, I'm about to put on a Broadway musical about F.P. Kern. I'm making that name up, but it was some like random name of a guy nearby from Kentucky.
Yeah.
Maybe had some involvement in the case. It was unclear if there was any involvement. And he's like, and nobody really reacts to this. I'm about to put on a Broadway show. No one reacts. And then he goes, the character I play, so that we all know that he's in a Broadway show, because it wasn't clear when he said put on. They're like, oh, maybe he's involved. He's on the committee. So he's like, I want it to be clear.
I'm not a historian.
Yes.
I am an actor.
Exactly. I want this to be very clear. And no one reacted, dude. It was crazy. I felt so uncomfortable. And then the guy's like, I think maybe I've heard something about it, but let's talk about it after this. I was like, bruh.
But why did he ask that? You wanted to learn about a certain person?
I guess. But dude, like there's no world where that wasn't just him trying to show off. It was just not the appropriate time for a random tangential question that's like loosely related when we're almost done with the tour and like people have been asking a good amount of questions. Like, let's just also, sorry, what were you saying?
I was gonna say that guy, he needed that.
I know.
He needed that. And that's what's upsetting about it. He needed to say that. He needed it to be known.
And dude, when you're in a group setting like that, like, so it starts to become clear what direction we're going to walk in with the guide once we're sitting to talk for a bit. So in that moment, I'm like, all right, I kind of want to get closer to the front because I don't want to see people in front of me. I want to see the cave. So I'm moving in whatever direction I think the tour group's about to move in once we settle on a destination. And then I'd be walking with the guide, and what would always happen, there's always one like, you know, person, potentially like spectrum-y person who like needs to be the first person in line. And I'm like, dude, like, go ahead, you just take it. And then I start thinking, I'm like, man, maybe I'm not ruthless enough in life.
Yeah.
Like not related to this specific situation, but I'm like, when push comes to shove, if I had to fight somebody to the death for it, I'd just let them take it. Maybe that's just the kind of guy I am, dude.
High road.
I guess. But I think I don't know if the high road qualifies there, but anyway.
Taking the high road over someone on the spectrum.
Yeah.
Hey, some people don't care.
Kick him in the back of the leg.
Some people don't care.
So I pop out of there at 1:30, which we all know is really 2:30. I'm like,
We know that.
We know that. I'm like, I'm already down here. There's like a 40-mile detour to go to the Abraham Lincoln thing. I'm like, I might as well do it.
So it's an hour and 40.
No, for a total. I think it was like total of 30 miles out of the way. But like you can drive fairly fast in this 30 miles. So let's just call it 40 minutes round trip. I'm like, I'm going to go, obviously, even though I still had to drop the car off. But I went, and dude, it's sick. So basically there is this monument memorial. And the thing that's great about a lot of the national park stuff, like even if it's just like a dude's house, a lot of the time they've constructed really cool hiking trails nearby that are beautiful. I didn't really have time to do it in this situation, but like you could easily spend the whole day at this place and have a lovely afternoon. The weather in Kentucky this time of year, it's cold. Kentucky isn't really southern traditionally. Like we associate it with the South and it is southern, but it's not like southern. It's not like, it's more like Appalachian. And maybe I'm making my own designation, but it wasn't part of the Confederacy during the Civil War. It wasn't a state, I don't think. Maybe it became one during, I forget the exact history, but it was also kind of split politically at the time. So even though we kind of associate it as being Southern, and like I have an accent for sure, it's sort of like not Southern. It's cold. It gets cold as fuck at night, even in Louisville. So, but during the day, it was still a little more temperate than it is in New York. It was like 40 degrees, 45 degrees, say. It's not warm, so I'm not dying to hike. But this monument is gorgeous. It's like stairs up into this sort of big mausoleum looking thing. It's not exactly like the Lincoln Monument in Washington, but it's sort of similar while being completely different, which is cool. And then inside of it is this literal log cabin boyhood home of Abraham Lincoln. Caveat, they've found out recently that it is in fact not. It's like from a couple years. It's from like 30 years before or after Lincoln would have been born. So it's like not it, but it looks exactly what it would have looked like. And it is the exact place of the birth. So to me, it's still compelling, even though it's not the actual house. Dude, when you looked it up, could you see what the house looked like?
No, I just got the name.
I'll show you. It's super cool, man. Like, and it made me appreciate sort of like the humble beginnings. When I was a kid, I'd hear these stories to be like, oh, Demi Moore came from nothing and she made it big. Like they tell these stories and I was like, all right, who cares? I didn't realize to what degree people who quote make it, a lot of them kind of start with a little bit of a head start. Check it out.
Oh, I remember that when you posted this. Yeah. That's where you came from?
Yeah. And that's what the house would have looked like. And get it, it's like a more of a modest time. Obviously, I think Abraham Lincoln was born in 1809 or 1811. So, you know.
Wow.
Take it with a grain of salt. But dude, if you think, look, dude, back in the day, I mean, my dad was saying it to me too. It's like, you know, a lot of time people lived in one fucking room. You lived in a house to survive. It was difficult and expensive to build a place to inhabit. And like, you just all were in the same fucking room. That was it.
That's just how it be then.
It's just how it be. And anyways, I just thought it was pretty sick, man. And it made me just appreciate Honest Abe because obviously the forefathers, despite whatever their backgrounds were like in England or whatever, like when they came here, besides that first generation, now suddenly like a lot of the people who are becoming presidents are the children of gentlemen. You know, like the Roosevelts, Taft, like a lot of these presidents, they kind of come from a background where it's easier to be groomed to be a president. And when you see something like that, you're like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
Like truly humble beginnings. And then down the road, there's like a house that he almost without a doubt went in at one point as a kid. So that was like the area that he lived in at some point. And there's a story about some boy rescuing him from a river or something when they were playing. And that boy's house is there. So anyway, went and checked it all out. Super sick. Got back in time for my show. And since it was only one show, like that crazy long day of hundreds of miles of driving, even though it might sound like a lot, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
And I had gotten like a good night's sleep after my show. I didn't go out after my Thursday show. Went home. The show was great too, so I felt good. And shows were all pretty good, crowd-wise. So thank you everybody for coming out. And that was
When I was a kid, I was watching 12 Angry Men with my dad. And I was so uncomfortable, not only by the dialogue or being alone with my dad, it was because I was wearing big boxers and I couldn't sit still. I couldn't get comfortable. Then fast forward to today, when I came to your apartment to watch Conclave, I was comfortable the entire time. Being next to you, watching other men argue with each other, and also because I was wearing MeUndies. 3 things that make me feel comfortable: arguing men, Giulio, and my MeUndies.
I love it.
You know, I'm trying to keep it brief, just like the underwear. I just love
Very
them.
nice.
We love MeUndies.
very nice.
We love working with them, and they got you covered. If you're in an uncomfortable situation, if you're wearing MeUndies, you'll be at least a little more comfortable than you would have been if you weren't. And that means a lot.
Got you covered. No pun intended. I love the black boxer brief, Lynch. I loved hearing that coming of age tale. It's important finding comfort in life. Find a comfortable situation. Weed out the toxicity and the discomfort. Be comfortable in the discomfort, but not if you don't need to be. And that's why MeUndies is here. I love the black boxer brief. XL for Papa, who's packing in all regions, not just you know where.
Giulio.
Lynch.
There's children in the car.
I meant more from the backside, the tush.
Oh, that's
the tush
fine then.
push. And yeah, look, you need to be comfortable out there. So get in there, get some MeUndies. They have every style, every color, every shape, all sorts of different designs, whatever it is that you might like, whether you like the ball caddy, you like a brief, if you like a boxer, if you like a boxer brief, they got it all. It's affordable, it's comfortable, it regulates temperature, and you're comfortable in any environment.
Yeah. So just like Giulio's Caboose, good things come in big packages at MeUndies. Get 20% off your first order plus free shipping on orders of $75 or more at MeUndies.com/OopsPodcast. Enter promo code OopsPodcast. That's MeUndies.com/OopsPodcast. Code OopsPodcast for 20% off. MeUndies, comfort from the outside in.
A lot of the time with the National Historic Parks, it's just places where stuff happened way back then. So you end up just seeing a lot of stuff you would never see. If you're just driving on main highways to main destinations, in airports, in big cities, like it's cool. So I love that part of it. I love the adventure of getting there. I love seeing the surrounding beauty. I love the way they curate it. And without a doubt, you feel the gravitas of being in this area where this great statesman, great and controversial statesman sort of came to be.
Yeah.
I want to tell you one more thing. So hopefully this isn't too boring for everybody, but I went to this place called Camp Nelson the next day. So I've now been to 188 National Park official units. They have added 2 in the past year. So it's gone from 431 to 433. But I just am grateful that I'll never be able to, is that it? Yeah, that is it.
It's a little boy.
I'll never be able to
At
finish
Camp Nelson.
because they'll keep adding them. So that's exciting. But anyway, Camp Nelson. And basically it was a camp during the Civil War. Like I said before, Kentucky was kind of split politically. And in this particular camp was a Union Army camp fighting for the North, for those of you who are just not retaining what you learned about the Civil War when you were kids. So anyway, very complicated. So basically, the way that it worked, if you were coming from the South to the North, and I don't know specifically, and this might be worth checking, but it also might not matter, Lynch, you can decide. But basically, like, if you decided to fight for the Union Army, they would put you up and you could bring your family. So it was like a refugee camp. So it's still, yeah. So that actually doesn't matter. I don't think you can look it up if you want and see whatever details you can get. But since it was during the war, the South had not yet accepted some of the laws that were going to be put in place were they to lose the war, including, I think, the abolition of slavery. So this was in the 1860s. And basically, this was a refugee camp for slaves who were escaping the South to a place where they were allowed to be freed. And the rule basically was, we will take care of you and your family as long as you fight for the Union Army for a few years, was the deal, was the trade-off. And I went into one of these barracks, and dude, I mean, it was tough living conditions. It was like, they had remodeled it, but the lady there told me, she's like, right here you see a bunk bed, but in reality there were 3 bunks, and there was 2 dudes sleeping next to each other in each bunk. So
6 guys?
In one bunk unit, 6 men.
Wow.
And then nearby there's houses that housed the families of some of these people who were trying to capitalize on their freedom as newly freed men, and that was recognized by the North. But listen to what happened. This is crazy and complicated. So apparently nobody ordered him to do this, but at some point a Union general decided to burn down the refugee camp. A Union general. So you have now defected into the arms of the person who's going to save you, basically, as these poor slaves who are trying to seek their freedom. And the Union general burned down the refugee camp. And then the families ended up, like more than half of them ended up freezing to death. And she didn't give me like a clear answer as to why that happened, but it seemed like it was because he felt that the refugees were taking up too many of the resources of the army. And therefore he's like, we're just going to get rid of it.
We're just going to kill them.
So he burned their houses down and they froze to death. Incredibly complicated. And I'm like, the Union Army? They're like, yeah. I'm like, Jesus. So that's just crazy, you know, the layers of like, oh, just because they're free doesn't mean that in this area where they're free, that people see them anywhere near as being equals.
Yeah.
We kind of get painted this black and white picture of it, no pun intended, where it's like the North was good and the South was bad, but it's interesting to the degree with which there's levels to it. You know what I mean? So, and today across the street from Camp Nelson, there are the descendants of the survivors of that still living in the houses. There's like a dozen houses or so across the street. So anyway, interesting to learn some of these historical things that were not otherwise on my radar. And it was pretty, and also just interesting to reflect on the complicated history, Lynch.
It sounds like a nice trip, Julia.
It was nice. Went back, did my shows, had a great time. I went to the same place every day to get a veggie burger that was unbelievably delicious. I should give them a shout out. I need to look it up. But that's what I got. So that's the Kentucky recap. And, hope it was interesting to everybody.
Before we go, can I ask your opinion on something?
Please.
I got a message from somebody inquiring about acquiring a pair of used socks worn by me.
Okay.
And so
the classic tale.
I'm curious upon 2 things, and I don't know which order we should tackle it. Do it quickly.
Lynch's feet are a hot item, dude.
How much I should charge, and what condition / type of sock do I give them? I think the condition will determine the amount that I charge. Because if I just give them the pair of socks that I put them on, I take them off, I give that to them, maybe they're not as valuable as they would be if I were to have worn them. So I have a couple of thoughts to really drive the value up, assuming that this person is a monster and they really want the dirtiest thing in the world.
So let's do this for the sake of the exercise. Let's not judge them.
No.
For the sake of the exercise.
You're right.
For the sake of the exercise.
He's a client.
I think it just takes away from what we're trying to do here. So let's just take away the judgment and let's pretend that you're not creeped out by this. Let's say it's just a completely innocent foot fetish. This dude's going to jerk off in the sock that you give him or whatever.
And that's what you do when you sell the sock. Like, I know that. So I'm
really?
obvious. Well, I mean, you assume, and it's fine. You do whatever you want with it. I'm assuming that you want to do something to the sock. Think about me. Flattered.
Right.
I get that.
You're going to smell it. You're going to do something.
The fact that I'm bringing it up, I genuinely might do it. So I'm curious, if it's really worth it.
Totally.
To not care about what happens to a pair of socks worn by me with a stranger.
Totally. So I would say potentially it's worth it. The only thing, it's like, is there some world where like that comes back to be a weird thing? Like where, you know what I mean? Like that's
DNA, cloning.
Not even that. Like somehow down the road, you're accepting some big award or you're being considered for some big thing. And somehow we find out you've been selling your socks. Is that weird? I don't even know. I don't necessarily think the answer is yes. I think this is kind of funny, and you're talking about it publicly. So it's not necessarily weird. When I was going to send pictures of my feet, I ended up not doing it because I was thinking about this. Like, I don't need pictures of my feet. But this is different. This is a sock.
Yeah.
This is an anonymous item. So I think that, well, the guy, has he specified first of all, what kind of condition he wants the sock to be in, or have you not like gotten that far?
Used.
Used.
That's all he said in his intro message. I didn't respond yet.
So, I mean, you can make this convenient for yourself by just like taking a sock that's like has a hole in it and is like done. Like your most worn down sock. Probably killed two birds with one stone there. He might like it more because you've worn it a bunch, so that turns him on.
Mm-hmm.
For you, the sock is not going to last much longer. This pair of socks you have on are a nice pair of socks. They're newish. They probably have retained 75% of their value.
Yeah. This one isn't, I wouldn't say it's
sock.
newish, but it's, I definitely
You've taken
didn't
care of
hesitate to put this one on this morning.
Totally. You've taken care of these. So in my mind, you parting with this sock would be a shame.
Mm-hmm.
This sock's got a lot of life left in it. So to me, it's like, you don't want to give the guy a new sock unless it's a sock that you hate. If you're like, I'm never going to wear these. Okay. But a worn sock, like I said, two birds with one stone. Now pricing, I don't know, a couple $100, $100 because, that's a good starting price, and another $100 for the possible emotional weight that you'll carry for the decision that you made to do this.
Yeah.
And it's good that you've been open and communicative about it with your family and your
I have
fiance.
with the photos in the past, because I've sold photos of my feet before.
Which in theory should maybe garner a higher price tag, all things considered. But
Yes.
look, you're a vet in this game now, in the foot game. And to me, you have nothing to lose by trying to get top dollar for it.
Mm-hmm.
Because what's the worst thing that happen? He says no? Okay. If he bargains for less, okay. Like whatever. You don't have to do it. It's not a big deal. So I think you could start toward the high end.
Yeah.
Just maybe $250.
Interesting. I was thinking double that.
Oh, wow.
I was thinking $500
Great.
because I
Good
charged $150 to two different people for pictures of my feet, and they paid it.
Nice.
So I think $500 is fair, and I'll make it worth his while. Like I'll wear, he wants a used sock, but I'm also assuming that he wants a used and worn, not washed sock. I think that is assumed. I got to clarify with the person. But I was thinking of wearing a sock that, yes, I want to get rid of. Like you mentioned, not something that I don't have too much of an emotional attachment to. But I thought one thing that could really increase the value is wearing a white sock with like a bean boot on a slushy kind of day, where the boot does a really good job like insulating my foot, but a little bit of water seeps in where my foot is constantly wet the whole day, where the bottom of the sock is a little brown. And I think that's something that might be exciting for this person.
So so this is interesting. You can kind of like outline all these different possibilities to him, and with like potentially different price ranges, which I think is quite funny.
Yeah.
Be like, all right, so if you want the bottom of the foot, the icy wet bottom of the foot, it's going to be this much because I have to do X, Y, Z. So
I
like
wear it all day long. You'd be salivating over that.
there's a world where you can like do all of these things and get like different amounts of money for it, which is just pretty fucking funny, dude.
We'll see.
By the way, I want to quickly shout out Bluegrass Brewing Company was the place I went to a bunch for the veggie burgers, but I want to keep talking about this. So yeah, I mean, he's leaving the ball in your court to ask how much you want for it, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could start high, and if he's like, oh, come on, what the fuck? You'd be like, dude, I'm sorry. Like, this is a request I don't get that often. I don't know. I figured if this is what people are paying,
Yeah.
it's not like you have an OnlyFeet account.
Mm-mm.
Like, this is sort of a low-key thing that we're doing in the shadows.
Yeah. And it's like, dude, I'm talking to you. I bet you send this message out to a ton of people that don't even entertain it or block you right away. Hi,
Like,
I'm
have
here.
a nice day. You're like, wait. I just wasn't sure how much. Yeah.
So we'll see. I'll keep you guys posted.
This foot guy seems like a decent guy if it's the same guy.
Different guy.
But they all seem fairly nice.
They do. I mentioned the foot guy,
I remember he got mad.
and he got upset because I guess he listens to the podcast, or he listened to the podcast. This is like a year ago now. But his name was fake on like his burner account that he messaged me through.
Did you
But
say the name? Is that what he was mad about?
Yeah, I think I did say his name. It was a fake photo. I know it was a fake photo. It was a real person. It was not that person. It was dragged off the internet. Regardless, whatever. I won't do that with this person.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah,
So,
live
we'll
and
see.
learn, Lynch.
I'll let you know. A lot of gay guys follow the Instagram and are always commenting like sexual things. Like, I liked when you opened your mouth in the video. And
This is all great for
I
us.
feel like OnlyFans like might be like a website that I'd type in, not to view, but potentially to participate in, just for feet. Just for feet.
You should. You should find some fun, funny, creative way to show some hole.
Some hole.
Ha ha
Rip Sock Ryan.
yeah, Rip Sock Ryan.
We'll
that's
see.
Funny, man. That's
So
funny.
I'll let you know what he says.
So anyway, guys, Lynch is for sale, as am I. Slide in our DMs.
Weddings are expensive.
I think one of my goals for the upcoming year is to get to a place where people are asking me to do sexual shit also. Gain back my boyish looks
Yeah.
via fitness and other things that I've been complaining about forever, and yet seemingly I'm never able to actually make the change. But whatever. I'm a grown-ass fucking man. I don't give a fuck. Fuck you, bro. JK. Anyway, come see me in a show March 8th, March 14th. Pittsburgh, Chicago, Rhode Island, Portsmouth, New Hampshire, Charlotte, and DC, all coming up before the summer. Come check it out. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and keep your eyes peeled at the end of each month. I'm planning to drop a full-length, awesome video. This next one I'm about to release from the Everglades. It's one of the best videos I've ever made, I think, all things considered. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Lynchy, what do you got, pal?
Ryan is really polite for everything. Thank you.